Crystallization is a process of formation large crystals in pure state from their solution.
Purification of copper sulfate by crystallization. The chemicals used for various purposes should be completely free from crystals are formed from a uniform solution.
The crystallization process are: firstly, preparation of solution of the impure sample, next, filtration of the solution, concentration of the filtrate, cooling of the concentrated solution, and lastly is the process of separation and drying of the crystal.
Material required: copper sulfate, dilute sulfuric acid, distilled water, ethyl alcohol water mixture, 2 beakers, china dish, glass rod, spatula, funnel, filter paper, measuring jar, test tube, wash glass, evaporating dish, trough, detox stand, and sand bath.
To do this experiment, first we must prepare the solution of impure sample. So firstly, 30 ml of distilled water was poured into the beaker. Then, the powder cooled sample of copper sulfate was added using a spatula. Next, the solution was stirred gently using a glass rod. The powder of copper sulfate was added several times until only a little undissolved solid in the beaker. And lastly, 3 ml of dilute sulfuric acid was added by using a measuring tube to form a clear solution. Next, we move to the next step, which is filtration of solution. Firstly, a filter paper was placed in the funnel, and the funnel was clamped to the detox stand. The china dish was placed under the funnel. After that, the solution was poured into the funnel over the glass rod. So the filtrate was collected in the china dish. Therefore, the insoluble impurities was left on the filter paper. After the filtration process had been complete, the next step is concentration of the filtrate. First, the china dish was heated in a sand bath until the solution was reduced to about 1/3 of its original volume. To avoid film formation on the side of the dish, the solution was stirred continuously with a glass rod. And then, a drop of solution was removed and cooled by cooling to determine the crystallization point. And lastly, after crystallization point had been reached, the hot saturated solution was transferred to an evaporating dish. The next step is the cooling the concentrated solution. The evaporating dish was placed in a tube that contained water. The dish was covered with a watch glass and it was allowed to cool slowly for a few times. As the solution cools, the observation was recorded. The last step is separation and drying the crystal. First, the mother liquor was decanted carefully into a beaker. Then, the crystal were washed for several times using filtered ethyl alcohol containing a small amount of cold water. Then, the crystal were placed on a filter paper using a spatula. Next, the crystal were dried by pressing gently between the folds of filter paper. The crystal were placed in a dry test tube. And lastly, the observation of the crystal was recorded.
The filtrate should be evaporated slowly by gentle heating during concentration. Then, the filtrate should never be heated to dryness. We must make sure that the solution should be cooled slowly without disturbing it. Overheating results in the formation of tiny crystals.
Through this experiment, we know that solubility of solution increases as the temperature increases, so the amount of solid dissolved in solution is greater than normal circumstances. This creates a supersaturated solution. When the solution temperature drops, the solubility of solution will drop too, releasing harmonics that form solid precipitate. As the precipitate continues to get larger, it will transform into solid crystal that can take a specific shape according to what's observed in this experiment.
Did you know salt is also a crystal through crystallization process? Let's try to make a salt crystal from the salt solution. During SEO, we just stay at home without doing anything. Actually, we can do some simple experiments such as taking this experiment, taking some videos and others. But now I have an idea to introduce you an amazing and simple experiment. What is this experiment? It's called to make some crystal. Let's start. See what material that we need. First of all, we need 6 what else? Cardboard, boiling water, food coloring, pipe cleaner, and the last is the most important.